dying to follow them, but they were so idiotic and so stupid. They just gave up on them because they said, you guys don't know how to run.
Somebody came to me this morning and suggested the FCC, as you know, is giving out radio frequencies now on the FM for local stations. So somebody suggested that we start for nonprofits. Somebody suggested, came to me this morning and said he'd be willing to organize it, to organize either the yeshiva should have a radio station or if my shul should have a radio station, and we could broadcast all the shiurim live here. What? To broadcast the shiurim. Why? I don't know. People in their cars, instead of listening to sports, they'll listen to shiurim. Exciting shiur, Yerushalmi. How could a person not listen?
I mean, we're not talking about thousands of people. We got 10 people.
10, all right. He said it's very minimal expense. He says like $15,000. It's an entire expense. He said the annual expense is probably like $1,000 a month, so $12,000. The equipment is $15,000, and the expense about $1,000 a month.
And you could do dafyomi in the morning.
Yeah, no, have to go with a portable transmitter. Right.
Not our dafyomi.
Maybe it would be different if it was on radio.
Sure. It would be worse. People ask dumb questions.
We'd have to have a six second delay, obviously, in order to. Okay. Anyway, that's how I'm now. We're at the top, the little gimel, right? 5 lines on the top. Mesa, Samachem Ralph. We didn't get the Mishnah. Mesa Eino Imo. If the Kesuva was written in a way that the conditions were contingent on the woman being alive, so if she dies, of course, she's no longer with him, and therefore the Tanai Kesuva, which is in this case was that her daughter should be supported, no longer applies. Niskar Sheinimo, if the mother's divorced, so then it doesn't apply to a daughter as well. Ichzira, what if you divorced her but then we took her back? So Mana Malik Kesuva V'lo Tanaim Yu says that when you take back a woman after divorcing her, you take it back for a Kesuva, whatever it was, but not for the Tanai Kesuva, so it should be, instead of Tani, it should be Hachinami. Here too, that she doesn't get the Tanai Kesuva is not restored, and therefore the daughter who was written into the original Kesuva is no longer supported. Ma'amar Ben Kesuva Ben L'Tanaim Yu says that you take back the woman, both for the Kesuva and for the Tanai Kesuva. Here too, it should be Hachinami. So too here the Tanai Kesuva returns, and the daughter continues to be fed based on the Tanai Kesuva, which was incorporated into the original Kesuva. Now, getting back to the Mishnah said, the wise people would write, as I will support your daughter for 5 years as long as you're with me. V'tani Allah, and we learned this is only if this is from a first marriage, this condition. Why is it for the woman? Interesting thing. Only for a first marriage. Why is that? Like Rechina said, Hamesius Beno Babayis. This is a Gemara we had long time ago, way back when in Kesuvos. It said that if you marry off your son in a certain house, Zacha Babayis, the kid inherits the house as a present. That's also only from the first marriage. So it means that the first marriage is so precious that you're willing to give wonderful things to your kids on their first marriage. So too, if he's marrying a woman and this is her first marriage for him, then he has, even though she already has a daughter, so it's obviously not a first marriage for her, but then he's willing to commit wonderful things to her. But if it's a second marriage for him, so then he doesn't have the same degree of committing. So it's interesting. It seems even if he wrote into a Kesuva that he's going to feed her daughter, so it doesn't apply, it's only for a first marriage for him, but not for a second marriage. We say it's too outlandish. I guess it's like an asmachta. It's not a valid condition because it's too outlandish, and he's not going to accept it by himself. But important to know the Korban Hayden says that that's only if you what I just said was not correct. I retracted. What I meant to say is what should have said is the following: that from the first marriage, if he writes in the contract, and then he divorces her, and then he takes it back, so it comes back into effect. According to Madam, that he goes back to the Tnai Ksuba. But from a second marriage, if he writes it into the contract, and then he divorces it, then takes it back, then everybody agrees that he doesn't, the contract to sustain the daughter, the stepdaughter, does not come back into effect. Because he's only willing to commit to such a extreme measure if it's the first marriage for him, not if it's the second marriage for him. That's what I meant to say. Okay? So it's really a reflection not on while he's married to her the first time around, but while he's married her a second time around, if he divorces her, returns her, that to commit that far is only if it's from the first marriage, not from the second marriage. Okay? That's what I meant to say. Okay. Amona Shamra. And Amona who said, that's not what I meant to say, that's what I should have said. Amona Shamra, a widow who said, it's not possible for me to move from my husband's house. They cannot say, go to your father's house. I will sustain you there. They rather sustain her, and they give her an apartment, a dwelling, based on her honor where she is. Okay. Ksiv, it says, now this actual quote, a lot of the following Gemara we actually had in Kilayim. It was a long time ago. But there's parallels to Bavli here. I did not have time today to look at the Bavli inside, but I will tell you from memory certain things where the Bavli here is different from the Yerushalmi. It says here, by people who died that they're exempt from mitzvahs. Once a person dies, he's exempt from performing mitzvahs. Now, the reason why this is coming up. Rabbi Tziva, reason why this quote is coming up, it doesn't have to do directly with our Mishnah. Rabbi Tziva Shloshet Dvarim B'Shas P'tiraso. Rabbi commanded three things at the time of his death. Al tazuz amanasi basi, my widow should not move from my house. V'al taspuni b'ayoros, and do not make me a hesped in small towns, only in big cities. So people shouldn't fight over which small town is going to get the honor of being maspid me. Those who accompany me during my lifetime and serve me, mostly they should serve me in my death. Okay, that was what he said. Now we analyze what he said. My widow should not move from my house. That's not a price of our Mishnah. It says explicitly, what did Rebbe have to tell them this? It says, if she lazuz mi beis bali, a widow says that she can't move her husband's house, we could listen to her. The halacha is like her. Rabbi Doisa said, here he had to make it clear. Why? The lo yemula, they shouldn't say to his widow, Beisa de Nasvaso. This is the White House, lady. This goes to the next Nasi. You can't stay here, right? Jackie Kennedy, after her husband was killed, she didn't get to stay in the White House, right? So they lo yemula, they shouldn't say to her, Beisa de Nasvaso, Mishtava de Nasvasa, and therefore it's under lien, or under, whatever, for the next Nasi. The Rebbe's house is not like that. Rebbe's house goes to his wife. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Ben Yossi, Elazar Ben Yossi says, Kiadah, it's not like, even though Kiadah means it is like, but here means it's not like the Tani, that which we learned later on in the Masechta. It says, Dora bebayis, Geshem Shoisa Dora, Ubalam Dora Nasim Dina Sayom, that we give her, after the death of her husband, equivalent house as she would get it for her husband was in Chutz La'aretz, which is not a grandiose palace, just an adequate house. So I might say here she shouldn't get the grandiose palace. That's why Rebbe said, I don't want her removed from my grandiose palace. I guess Rebbe had paid for it. It probably wasn't taxpayer money. So therefore, even though it would go to the next Nasi, but only upon the death of his widow. Okay? And so to a widow is fed, as she would have been fed if her husband's chutzlaretz, and again, not in an outlandish fashion, but here Rebbe was stipulating that she should remain in his palace. V'atas b'du b'ayoros, do not give me a spadim in small towns. And machlokas, because it caused strife and divisiveness, who's actually going to have the rights to be maspid Rebbe. Umishnit pa b'chai, those who dealt with me in my lifetime, tapu b'mosi, will deal with me after my death. Amrei Chedet Tzipori, Rabbi Chedet Tzipori said, Kigon such as Yosef Efrati, Yosef Chofni, and those two. Okay, those are the two. Rabbi Chizkiah Mosif, Rabbi Chizkiah added, Al Taubro Lai Tachrichim. I don't want to have too many shrouds. Ve'ate'aronina Kuval Oretz, and let my coffin be open to the ground, which I think we actually do nowadays. We open on the bottom of the coffin very often. I'm not sure exactly what they do here, but Mil Samara. Now this teaches us Besadin Echad Hu Nikbar Rebbe. In Rebbe was buried in one shroud. The Rebbe Amar Lo Kamad Bar Nashu Huasi. Because Rebbe holds, this is not in the Bible, to the best of my recollection, that Rebbe, but it's telling the story about the shrouds and the following story afterwards, but Rebbe holds that a person doesn't come back the same way he's buried, so therefore, you don't have to bury him in good clothing. God will give him a sable rose suit when he brings him back to this world, but he doesn't have to be buried in it, right? But Rabbanan argue. Rabbanan say, Kamoda by natural zeal, just like a person goes, Huasi, whatever clothes he's buried in, that's he comes back. Okay? Again, I don't remember this machlokas from the Bavli at all. I don't think it appears there, but it's interesting machlokas.
This Rabbanan, I think, is quoted in Yerushalmi Kesuvos.
That may be. I mean, we had a Kilayim, maybe. Brachos, you think specifically? Brachos? Okay. Tani b'shem Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Nosson said, Ksusei redesim adam lishol. This you see is a brisa from Eva Rabasi, says here on the side. The clothing which goes down with the person to the grave, he boimo, he comes back with him. That's like Rabbanan say. My time, why? Tisapech kachomer chosam. They'll be turned over like mud, and their seal, meaning their image or their countenance, will be erased in the grave. These yatzvu, and they will rise up again, kamo lavush, as if they were clothed. So we could see that they come up the same way they were put down, okay, in the same clothing. Antulinus, who's called in the Bible Antoninus, was a Roman governor. Shal Rebbe asked Rebbe, Ma'odain, is that what it says? Tisapech kuchomer chosab. It will turn over like clay, the seal. Amalei, so he said, Mishu made, it's not like you, and he's asking, sounds like you get it back up in the same clothes which you're put down, not like you said, Rebbe. Amalei, so he said, so Rebbe responded to him, Mishu maybe as Ador, he who brings the generation back to life, Huma Bisho, he will turn them over, and also give them new clothes. So it's not the same clothes, but new clothes.
When Shmuel was brought up, when it showed,
yeah,
there's nothing mentioned about it.
Nothing mentioned about what it is later. No, sorry.
That's the only time we
know
someone that was brought
right.
back.
I don't remember anything of that sort. But even that was a vision, so I don't know if it's a raya. Rabbi Yochanan Mefaki, Rabbi Yochanan commanded now in the Bavli, the Bnei Moshe actually brings down the Bavli here. We had this recently. It's Rabbi in Shabbos. It's Rabbi Yanai said the same thing. Abushuni bivard kio, dress me in pink clothing. Now, pink nowadays has a negative connotation, but not back then. Lo chivrin, not black. Lo chmin, not white. Lo chmin, nor black. Pink. Why? Because in kamis b'nei tzadikaya, if I rise among the tzadikim lo nafis, I won't be out of a line. In kamis b'nei rishayim, if I rise among the rishayim lo nafis, I won't be out of line. In other words, this way I'll be set. I won't be too off color. Whatever crowd I rise up with, the Rishayim or the Tzaddikim. Now it's interesting, that's all the Bavli brings down. Now the Yerushalmi goes on, and this must be the source of our minhag. Rabbi Yeshua Paki, Rabbi Yeshua commanded, Abushuni, put me in chivrin chafusin, in white clothes with sleeves, which is obviously the kittel, right? So Amalei said, Ma Tavmin Rabbach, what are you better than your Rebbe? Your Rebbe want to be buried in pink shrouds. You're such a big tzaddik, you want to be buried in white clothes? So he said, Amar Alon, so he said, Umano bois moved, why should I be embarrassed of my deeds? So it's interesting, different generations had different types of musar. Rabbi Yanai, or Rabbi Yochanan's generation, for them it was better to actually encourage, questioning one's deeds and saying, maybe I should be buried in pink because who knows where I'll get up. But Rabbi Yossi obviously saw in the next generation that he has to encourage people to be confident in what they're doing, and therefore he told them they should bury him in a white, carefully made kittel. And it's interesting that our minhag actually follows that, I believe, that we bury people in their kittels, if I know correctly.
This last thing about the sleeves, does that mean that Rabbi Yochanan did not have sleeves to this thing?
I think it was just a simple shroud, probably.
So it was wrapped like a mummy?
Yeah.
It was like the Ted Kaczynski version of the shrouds. Sleeveless.
Okay, I don't think that got on the mic, and better for the cause. Says about Amalei, they said. Sorry, we just said. Rabbi Yirmiyah similarly, Mefaked, he also commanded, Abushuni chivin chafutim, put on me white clothes with sleeves, and Abushuni danase, put me on my outer cloak, which was like a choshver cloak, Vavu masane beraglai, and put my shoes on my feet. I don't think we bury in shoes, but I really don't know. What? We don't? V'chutra biyadi, my stick on my hand. V'avuni al sitra, put me on my side. We bury Mason on their back, but he said, put me on my side. In Asi Mashiach, if Mashiach comes, v'anamatad tzipuraya. I'll be ready to get up. Tzipuraya means literally makes greet the morning. So he wanted to show how prepared he was for Mashiach, that he wants to be buried in readiness for Mashiach to come. Now getting back to the death of Rebbe, and this is a similar thing as in the Bavli. They said, Man Damar Lo and Demis Rebbe. Anybody who tells us Rebbe dies, Anan we're going to kill him. Yeah, we had Yerushalmi Kesuvos. This story, most of Rebbe's death already appeared in Kilayim. So, Man Damar Lo and Demis Rebbe, Anan we're going to kill him. Adiglon Bar Kapar raises, so Bar Kapar stuck out his head from a window. Mechusay Mani Mevazin, and was wearing ripped clothes. Armor alone, so he said to them, Yitzukim Ba'arelim, the Yitzukim, which is the ground which is solid, the Arelim are the Malachim, those who are on high. Tufs the Luchos both grabbed at the Luchos and tugged at the stab tablets. The Garba Yadon Shel Arelim, and the hands of the the heavens, were more powerful. The Chatfus Luchos, and they grabbed the Luchos. Now, I'm not sure if in the Bavli it's Ula who said this. I think maybe the people who are assembled said it, not Ula himself. But I think in the Bavli only he appeared in ripped clothing. Anyway, Amalei, I might be wrong about that. Again, I told you I didn't have time to look. What? It says here Bar Kapar. Sorry, Bar Kapar, yeah. Amalei, they said, Damach Rebbe. So he said, it must be Rebbe died. Amalei, so he said, Atona Martun. What?
We have this line.
Yeah, this is, you said it, not me. That's also in the Bible, though. Atona Martun, you said it, not me. The Koran, so they ripped their clothes. V'azo kala the Karin. And the sound of them ripping their clothes went, Lago Paposa, went as far as Paposa, Ma'al Klesa Milin, which is 3 mil away. Okay? Rabbi Nosson B'Shem Rabbi Mona. Now this is not in the Bavli. It says in the Bavli it was Friday, but this is a fascinating Gemara. It says Rabbi Nosson B'Shem Rabbi Mona said, Ma'isa Nisim Nasu Bosar Yom. A tremendous miracle happened that day. Erev Shabbos, it was Erev Shabbos. V'nichlasu kol Yeros Laspido, and all the cities came to him Maspidim. V'shune V'shune, and they put him down in order to make a spain, because they used to make stops along the route. To Timnei Seknishnon. In 18 shuls. V'achtuna the Beis Shorim, they took him down to Beis Shorim. V'tolas lo yoyma, and the day of Erev Shabbos lasted longer. This is in the Bavli. What's coming up is not in the Bavli. And he was able to fill up a bucket of water. Light the candles for Shabbos. Now, however, this is not in the Bavli. It says once the sun, I think, if I recall correctly, once the sun set, Karagev, immediately the rooster crowed. Because the night didn't push off. The day didn't push off the night. It's interesting because it tells us he saw it in miracles. That the day doesn't push off the night, but rather the night is compressed. And I think that this actually argues on the Rashi and Chumash, because Rashi and Chumash says when Yaakov slept by, the Tzadderach, right? So the sun set early, right? It says that the sun had to go, but so the sun was compensated by Yeshua. But you see here, the regular clock doesn't stop when the miracle occurs. It was basically what happened was that it was the sun went in its regular revolution. There was just a nace in that place that there was light and it wasn't dark. It was like, the divine light, the Oragonos L'Tzadikim, that light was shining, and therefore by them, it wasn't yet Shabbos, right? It was something like to that effect. But the regular sun's cycle continued. So dawn came at the same time it always came. It wasn't altered later on, okay? Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way it seems to me to read the Gemara.
That makes sense. So that is exactly what the Fortune say on your shiur, that whole story.
Yeah.
Is that basically there was no nightfall. The day went right into the next day.
Yeah, that sounds like the Pesukim, Shemesh Begiva and Dov Yerech Be'emekai alone. In other words, it was just an aberration in that one location. Okay? So in any event, so the next day, but when they got up and they heard, 1 hour later, the rooster crowed, Shari Matigan, they started feeling bad. I mean, they said, Dilma the Chavlin on Shubsa. Maybe we're Machal Shabbos. But says Basko Varmalon, so Basko came and said, Call Mishlon Isatzo Be'espedel Shal Rebbe. Anybody who wasn't lazy in the aspect of Rebbe, Yemavusal Chaylon Baba, is the destined world to come, and that includes everybody, even those who seem to have gone late, because that was the right thing to do, and Mina Shamayim was like that. Barmin Katz, except for that launderer, and this is also in the Bavli, because that launderer, he used the extra time to do laundry. Said, well, I got a longer Friday, I can work longer. So he ate guard all of my butt. Came the Shama, once the launderer heard that, Saikliker went up on the roof, the Toli Garman, he threw himself down on me and he died. Nafkas Bras Kolos, another Basko came out of Amras and said, Vafilu Katz, or even the launderer. And it's one of the sources that a person could commit suicide for Kapara, the occasion. Yeah. So, okay, so it's Bavli and Yerushalmi. Rabbi Avi Yosef Tzipor Shabbat Shiva Shnin. Rebbe was in Zipori for 17 years. He called upon himself, Vachi Yaakov Eretz Mitzrayim, on Omen Beis, where it says Bereshis Mem Zayin, in the margin, further down, much further down. There's a circle at the beginning of the line, a small circle. He said, Vachi Yaakov Eretz Mitzrayim Shvas Yishana. Yaakov lived in Egypt for 17 years. Yehuda lived in Tzipor Shvas Yishna. However, it's a catch. Umin Guveim, from among those 17 years, about Klasis Sheshnin Choshishinoy, 13 years he had problems with his teeth. Now it's interesting. In the Bavli he also had 13 years, but I don't think the Bavli says it was from those 17 years. It was 13 separate years. Because here he said these were the 17 great years of his life. He had Yaakov 7 years in Mitzrayim. So it's a little bit difficult that those 13 years he had tooth pains. Also, in the Bavli, it's not tooth pains, but rather stomach pains. Okay, so it's a major machlokas, whether it's his teeth or his stomach. Anyway, it hurts. So it says, Kol such Shlosha, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Boone, Rabbi Yossi Boone said, Kol such Shlosha Seishana, all those 30 years, Lo Meitzel Chai Beretz Yisrael, a woman giving birth did not die in Eretz Yisrael, Lo Epilu Bar Beretz Yisrael, nor were there any miscarriages in Eretz Yisrael. For Lo Mechashishinoi, why do you have a toothache? It's a famous mice, it's also in the Bavli. Chazman Ava, once he was passing, Chamachad Egel, he saw a certain calf, Misnakis, which is about to be shechted. God, so the calf mooed. Varmalane said, Rebbe, Shezvi, Rebbe, save me. Varmalane, so he said, what can I do? You were created for this purpose. Okay? And this was cruel, and therefore from Shamayim, they gave him this punishment. Uvasova echim shama in shabt. At the end, how do you come healthy? How do you recover from the toothache? I don't know, it could have just had the tooth extracted. I don't know exactly what's going on. But Chamsun, hein de katlun chada kendach baraya. You saw somebody killing a bunch of mice. Armalon, they said, Arpunun, leave the mice alone. Rachma v'alkom ma'asok, God is merciful in all his creatures. I think in the Bible it might have been some different animal, but I don't remember. Anyway, same idea. Now, the next case is not in the Bavli, as far as I recall. Next issue. and we're going to come back about in a moment actually to Rebbe's toothache. But in the meantime, we have a parenthetical remark. Rebbe Ava Inan Sagid. Rebbe was very humble. He was humble vis-a-vis animals too, but he was very humble in general. V'Avamar, he said, "Come out the Emily Bar Nasho. Oh no, if anything a person tells me to do, I'll do. Chutz, except Mimashu Asu Zikne Besera. That which the elders of Ben Besera did, Zikne to my elder Hillel. Do you remember what the Bnei Besera did to Hillel? They took themselves off the Nasius and gave it to Hillel instead. They willingly abdicated in Hillel's favor. That, the Sharon Gamun, that's he says, the Sharon Gamun, they removed themselves, the Manune, and they appointed Hillel. In that I'm not doing. In Sloik Ravuna Reish Kalusa, Lach Ravuna the Reish Kalusa, the ex-law comes here, Ana Moisiv Le'el Mini, I'll put him up on, over me. Do me Yehuda, because he's from Yehuda, V'ana mi Binyamin, I'm from Binyamin. Do me Dichra, he's from the males of Yehuda, V'ana mi Nukvas, Nukufta, I'm from Beis David, and I'm from the females of Beis David, which of course why he's from Binyamin, because he's only from Yehuda from his mother's side. But I'm not going to abdicate. I'll give him covet, but I'm not going to abdicate in his favor. Okay, so Chazman, once Reb Chia wanted to play a little prank on his Rebbe. Chazman or Reb Chia Rabba Gabe, once Reb Chia the Great went into him, Amalei said, "Ho Ravuna Lakan, Ravuna is here, get ready." So Niskarkim Upanav Rebbe's face became red or embarrassed. Amalei, so Reb Chia said, Aronohu. It's only his coffin. It's not he himself. He's dead. Amarle. So Rebbe was upset at Rebbe Chia for trying to play a prank on him. So he said, "Puchami, my boy, Lakan, go see who's outside," and came here. Nafak, he went outside. V'loshkach barnash, and he didn't find anybody. The Yada who the Kaisel had love, and he knew that Rebbe's upset at him. Tapasam Chvav and Ralph. Avid the law El Gabe. So he made himself, since he was Nazifa, since he was rebuked by his Rebbe, he didn't go in for his Rebbe plus in Yoimin for 30 days. On Rabbi Yisrael and Rabbi Yisrael Boone said, "Inu plus in Yoimin, Tlisise Yoimin, Yomaya, for those 30 days, Yoli Framine, Rav learned for Rabbi Chia, Kol the right, so all the principles of the Torah." Okay, those 30 days, Rabbi Chia was not by Rebbe, so he taught his nephew Rav everything in the Torah. Besides, plus to say Shunaya, plus to say Yoimei. Now, at the end of the 13 years of Rebbe's suffering, Rebbe still had a toothache then. Maybe that's why he was in a bad mood. But he had a toothache. So then, 30 days later, after the 13 years were over, was Rebbe Chia's, it's time to make shalom with Rebbe Chia. So then, all Elio Lagabe, Elio came into him, B'demus Rebbe Chia Rabba, looking like Rebbe Chia the Great. Amarle, so he said to Rebbe, Elio said to Rebbe, "Ma Mori Avid, how are you doing? What's my master doing?" Amalei Chachina Mikali, he said, "I have this one tooth which is bothering me." Amalei, he said, "Chamili, show it to me." The Chamili showed it to him. V'yavit's boy love it, he put his finger upon it, v'intrimis, and it became healed. And of course, there are two catalysts here. One is that he had Rachmanis on the mice. But the immediate catalyst is that Elio wants to put Rebbe Chia back in Rebbe's good graces. Okay? So both catalysts went together. Says the Gemara, the next day, L'machar, on the 31st day, all Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Chia came in. Amalei, so he said to Rabbi, "Ma Mariavi, how you doing? Hey Shinayich, Maravida, those teeth of yours, how are they doing?" Now, he didn't know Elio had been there yesterday, but of course, being with Rabbi for the last 13 years, he knew Rabbi's teeth hurt, right? Amalei said to me, "Who shaita the Yavis Atzbach Alave?" From that moment that you put your finger on it, in Shemas it became healed. Was Rabbi Chia happy about this? No. Both of Shah Amar at that time he said, "Eilachem Chayish Eretz Yisrael." Woe to you women giving birth in Eretz Yisrael. Eilachem Ubarsh Eretz Yisrael. Woe to you women who are pregnant in Eretz Yisrael. Because for those years that Rebbe was undergoing those travails, it was a balance, right? So other people didn't have to undergo travails. But now the Rebbe's got it good, so then, it's going to be bad for those. So maybe he himself could have healed Rebbe, but he would never have done it. It was Elio did it. Okay, it's interesting, that perspective. So even though Elio can make the cheshbon, but Rebbe Chia would never have dared made the cheshbon on his own. Okay, it says more, Amar, so Rebbe Chia answered truthfully, he said, "Lo no, it wasn't me here yesterday." Nevertheless, Rebbe saw, must have been Elio, So from that time, Shari Rebbe Avi Le'Yakar. Rebbe began to demonstrate to Rabbi Chia a degree of honor. Karava, all the little base matter, we used to go to the base matter, I've already would say, Yikayas Rabbi Chia Rabbo Lifnimi Meni. Rabbi Chia the Great should enter before me. Rabbi Shmuel Yossi was an old man, left over previous generation. Besides, his father had been the illustrious Rabbi Yossi. So he was very tense about his own covet, Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. So he said, Lifnimi Meni? Is Rabbi Chia going to go get an even better seat than me? He literally further in than me? I'm like, no, not to detract from your covet. Ela Rabbi Chia Rabbo Lifnim. Rabbi Chia the Great inside, Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi Lifnim. Truly inside, meaning on an even higher madrega. A similar story. Rabbi Abba Masli Shavchei Rabbi Chia. Rabbi is saying over the praise of Rabbi Chia Rabbo the Great, Kuma Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi, in front of Rabbi Yossi. Chazman Chamse L'Gobani. Once, Rabbi Chia saw Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi in the bathhouse. He didn't submit himself before him. He didn't demonstrate a proper covet. So he said to Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, he said to Rabbi, Ahanu dat Masi Shavchei, this is the guy upon which you heap praises. He didn't show me proper derech eretz. Amalei ma'avad. So Rabbi said, what did he do to you? Amalei, so Rabbi Shmuel said, Chamsi Gobani, he saw me in the bathhouse. He didn't subjugate himself to me. Amalei, so Rabbi turned to Rabbi Chia and said, Lama Vatake, why'd you do that? Amalei, so he said, yes, you lie. May things befall me. Din Sachis Le'yadais. I don't even know if I swam. In other words, I was so distracted, right? I was so not paying attention to what was going on around me. I don't even know if I actually entered the water. What was going on? Vayishaita, at that moment, Askaris Inoi, B'chol Sefer Tehillim Agoda. I had my eyes closed because I was going through the entire Agadata of Sefer Tehillim. I don't know what I was doing in the bathhouse. I guess, you couldn't tear his mind away. The bottom line is, he said, the reason I didn't get Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi proper cause because I didn't notice it. Okay? Mi'ayishaita for that time. Masalei trained Amhidin. Rabbi gave Rabbi Chia 2 students, the Alchuni May, that they should go with him, go Sakanta, in any dangerous place because he obviously was not paying attention to his surroundings. Rabbi Yasa, this is after Rabbi Chia's death. Rabbi Yasa Tamnoy Tzomei, he fasted 80 fasts. L'chaim Rabbi Chia Rabbi, that should be able to see Rabbi Chia the Great in a dream. At the end he saw him in a dream. The rugs in Yodi, and his hands trembled, and his eyes became dark. You're going to say, Rabbi Yossi Bar Nazir, maybe Rabbi Yossi was small fry. Rabbi Yasa, actually. The Rabbi Yasa, who's Rabbi Yasa in the Bavli. Maybe small fry. By the way, none of this is in the Bavli. This whole story about Rabbi Chia. We did have some elements, I think, in the Yerushalmi previously, but it was not in the Bavli. So it said, maybe you think Rabbi Yasa is small fry, and that's why he was not able to sustain his vision of Rabbi Chia. You know, he was a big man. How so? Chad Gedalai Asal Kami Rabbi Yochanan. He's certain, I think, a Gedalai is somebody who makes threads. Weaver. Yeah. Came from Rabbi Yochanan. He says, Chamitz b'chami, I saw in my dream, the Rakia Nafal, that the heavens are falling. The Chad mitamidach samichle, and one of your students was supporting him. Amar Leis Rabbi Yochanan said, Chochi mat lei, did you recognize him? Amar Leis said, Min ana chamalei, if I see him on a chacham lei, I'll recognize him. V'avar kol tamidei kamoi, so he put all of his tamid in front of this weaver in a lineup. The chacham Rabbi Yossi, he recognized Rabbi Yasa. So see, Rabbi Yasa is the one who supports Shamayim. He's a very chashuv dude. But nevertheless, when it comes to seeing Rabbi Chia, he trembled and siddered, and he suffered as a result because Rabbi Chia was really up there. He fasted 300 fasts. The Michna Rabbi Chia Ruba to see Rabbi Chia the Great in a dream. Look, I'm saying he didn't see him. But so far, at the end of 300 fasts, Sharmi became upset. It didn't do him any good. He says, Ma, What's going on? Did he learn Torah more than I did? Rish Lakish was one of the greatest scholars of all times. He said, the Rabbi Chia learned more than me. And Rish Lakish saw Rabbi Chia, because Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Lakish was a junior Talmud of Rebbe's. Chia was the senior Talmud. But they were both in the same base marriage. But after his death, he no longer was zoichet to see him. Even in a vision. Why? Right? So it says, Armin later said, he taught more than you in Am Yisrael. Not only that, Eldav Gali went to the Golos. Amr alone, so he said, for the law of Gali, what, I never went to Golos? I went to Golos too. Amr later, so he said, you went to Golos to learn Torah from other rabbis. Rabbi Chia used to go out to teach. The famous Gemara in Kesuvos, it's not brought down in the Yerushalmi, it's in the Bavli. Rabbi Chia used to go out and used to shoot, deer and make hides and write the Torah on 5 hides and go and teach Mishnah and learn to teach the Mishnayos, teach the 5 Sefer Torah to 5 kids in the village, and teach the 6 Siddur Mishnah to 6 kids in the village, and have everybody learn, teach everybody else. And Rebbe said, Gedolim Ma'aseh Chia. So he was famous not just for learning but for teaching, and that was his Iker Schus. Now, Karhava Davach Ravuna Reish Kusim, Ravuna the Exlarch, not the one on Samachem and Ralph base, a later one died. Askuni Loch, they brought him up there to Israel, and this mice we did have in the Yerushalmi way back when, maybe Brachos, maybe sometime in Zroim. But anyway, he died. Askuni Loch, they brought him up there to Israel. They said, in honor Yarvin, where should we put his coffin? This should put him in caves, right? So which cave should we put him in? Now the guy Rabbi Chia, let's put him in Rabbi Chia's cave. He's one of them. Rabbi Chia came from Bavel, Ravuna came from Bavel, they're both a bunch of Babylonians, let's put them together. So they said, Man ol Yoav Taman, who's going to go in and put him there? Rabbi Chagai said, again, it's not the Bavli, but we did have the Yerushalmi. Chagai said, I'll go and put him there. Amalei said, Elad boy, you want a plot. We know you, that Varsavi, an old man, and you want to go in there and drop dead, so you can be buried with Rabbi Chia. It's just a plot on your part to be buried in Rabbi Chia's caver. So he said, listen, so they said, so he said, Yavam Mashicha Baragle, make me like the Kohen God on Yom Kippur. Put a rope on my leg. The Anis, if I spend too much time, Asun Garsh, they come and pull me out. All of Ashkach Chlas, they went and saw 3 Aronin, it should be not done in, 3 coffins. Yehuda b'ni acharecha v'enod. And Rechiv was saying, Yehuda, my son, after you there's no one else. You're so such a tzaddik. Chizkiah b'ni acharecha v'enod. After you there's no one else. Acharecha, and behind them, I guess they're in the same location as Yosef. Kever Yosef, we say today, is in Shechem. I don't know if that's true, and if it is, maybe Kever Rabbi Chia is there too. Anyway, Acharecha Yosef ben Yisrael ve'enod. Besides that, Yosef, the son of Yisrael, was there, and there's no one equaling to him. They're all great tzaddikim. Everybody there was a great tzaddik in that cave. So Tola ate him mistako. So Rabbi Chagai picked up his eyes to look. Amalei, so they said to him, Amechapech, lower your face. You're not worthy of looking at the people who are buried here. Amrei Chia Rabba. Rabbi Chia Rabba said, Yehuda Brei Navish Ravuna. Chia said to his son Yehuda, make room for Ravuna. In other words, for another coffin. Yosef lay, so Rabbi Chagai put Ravuna's coffin there. Lo Kabel Alavi Mesiv lay. He would not accept Ravuna would not accept to sit there. In other words, Ravuna's coffin, he was dead, obviously, but he was not.
He didn't make room for him.
No, it was the other way around. Ravuna did not want to be put there. He didn't want to infringe on Yehuda. Okay, which is an interesting perspective. I don't know how he made it known, but all these dead people are talking, obviously, so there's all mice and nisim. So Naaman, I mean, they said, "Kamad lo kavi Allah masively." It's just like he would not accept sitting to infringe upon Rabbi Chia's son. Kain zarase lo paska miola. So to his children should never cease. In other words, Rav Huna's line of descendants should always be intact. You know, there's a famous story of Bustanite, one of the great grandchildren of Reish Galusa. Everybody was wiped out, but he was still survived. So the line of the Reish Galusa remained intact through all the generations. Okay, this is bracha.
So do we know if this really happened with the Rav Huna's progeny?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It did. Yeah, the line of the Reish Galusa was always protected. As long as we have records, which is till the late until a year 1000 or 1100. Anyway, V'yatzu misham ben shmonim shana. Now Rabbi Chagai went out of there when he was 80 years old. V'nich b'lo shnasav, and he lived another 80 years. So people shouldn't be questioning him. It was rewarded by, because they said, he wants to drop dead there. So they gave another 80 years. Okay, period. Ksiv, now we have some Zionistic Gemaras. Ksiv, not as big Zionistic though as the Gemara in Kesuvos itself. The Gemara in Kesuvos is much more. But the Gemara in Kesuvos, they were in Bavel, so they need to be more Zionistic. And generally the Zionists who live in Chutz La'aretz, right? But here we have, they live in Eretz Yisrael, they didn't have to wear their Zionism on their sleeve, right? So says the Gemara, Yaakov said, bear me from Egypt, bury me in the burial places in Eretz Yisrael. Yaakov, every place where he was, what's the difference where he's placed? Manche here should be written probably with a chaf. In other words, what difference does it make? Who cares where he's buried? There's a big fact written go, for him to go, which means things on the inside. But it means there's something going on here. Rabbi Shimon Levi Mar Dvarim B'Gav, something going on here. Rechina Mar Dvarim B'Gav, something going on here. Mar Dvarim B'Gav, what's going on here? Rabbi Shimon Levi Shamar, Es Halichliv Ne Hashem B'Atzos Achayim. Domer says I should walk before Hashem in the land of the living. Follow Ein Atzos. What does it mean? Does it mean Eretz Yisrael? There's no greater Eretz Achayim than Tyre and Kesarin and those environs, the Golan and Lebanon, which are not part of Eretz Yisrael, where you have all the great springs and those were the resort areas where the Banyas is, and all Tyre is not such a big resort area nowadays. But those are why is Eretz Yisrael called Eretz Achayim? Right? You have ganz fine Eretz Achayim and Chutz La'aretz, right? So Taman Kula, there's everything in Chutz La'aretz. Taman Sava, there you have great satiation. So what does it mean Eretz Yisrael is Eretz Achayim? Rishim Eloki Shabbat B'Shubeim Shein Kapor says Eretz Shemeseh Chaim Tchil Yemos HaMashiach. It's a land where by Yemos HaMashiach that there's Tchias HaMesim first. My time or apostle teaches us that, no saying the Shema Lam Oleh. Because Baruch gives a soul to the nation which inhabits the land of Israel. So that's why Yaakov wanted to be moved to Eretz Yisrael. So Tchias HaMesim should roll over him first. So says more, if that's the case, so what about the rabbis above it? What if they lose out of Tchias HaMesim? What's going to happen to them? So it's famous Gemara, it's in the Bavli too. Amar Rabbi Simoya, Kosh Baruch Hu Machlil Lifnei Mitzrayim, Kosh Baruch Hu makes holes before them in the ground. Name is Gavlim, they roll kenodos like full bladders. They came and see, they never used to understand squirm, sure, but now we understand that this is the subway system, right? They came and Shemakim Eretz Yisrael. Once they reach Eretz Yisrael, Nafshel Seini Mohem, their souls are with them, and they also rise to Tchias HaMesim. Now, of course, people can rise to Tchias HaMesim. It doesn't say people don't rise to Tchias HaMesim in Chutz La'aretz, but Yemos HaMashiach, when the people first rise to Tchias HaMesim, the first risings will be in Eretz Yisrael. Okay? My time, what Pasuk teaches us this, I'm going to be to your lamb, and I'm going to put my spirit upon you, and you will live. Rabbi Brecha shor Rabbi Chelbo. Rabbi Brecha asked Rabbi Chelbo. Rabbi Chelbo shor Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Chelbo asked Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami shor Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Ami asked Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer asked Rabbi Chanina. These some saying Rabbi Chanina shor Rabbi Yeshua. Now's the amazing Gemara. If you look at going Yeravam, Chaver, what about Yeravam? The guys who had said Chelek Elam Chelek Olam Haba. What about them? So it's, I know what bothered him so much. Amalei said, sulfur and salt, the whole land is burnt. Brecha said, that's nice, but Ma'ahein Deshoy alone, what they asked him, Lo Shavim Minei Klum, they didn't hear from his answer any response. In other words, so what if the land is all burnt? What does it tell us about Yerubah? So Mo'adeh, so what's the Mao? Lo Shemin Minei Klum Mao. We didn't know what the answer is. So say, I'm sorry, no. Lo Shemin Minei Klum, sorry. Mao Kedun. So what does he mean to say? So this is what he meant to say. Very interesting thing. Came and Eretz Yisrael. Since Eretz Yisrael was all burnt out at the time of the Churban, Nasr and Midas Adin. Interesting, Yeravam got his Midas Adin when Eretz Yisrael was burnt up because his corpse or whatever was there was burnt up. I don't know if it's Churban Bayis Rishon or Churban Bayis Sheni. Perhaps it's Churban Bayis Rishon. So it's interesting. It sounds from the Yerushalmi that he does get Chiyas HaMesim. And I assume he also gets Olam Haba because there were terrible degradations which happened to his body in the kever. Okay? Tiny B'Shem Yudus, right? We learn that right now. Yes.
So therefore, in the future, that won't happen.
Right.
So the briskers say, Tzion b'mishpat tifadev.
Yeah.
How do they deal with this? Maybe I'm just stretching it too far.
I think so. Tani b'Shem Rabila. Sheva Shanim Oster Eretz Yisrael Nisrfa. For 7 years, and I think this is after Churban Bayis Rishon. As you said, Eretz Yisrael was burnt up. Although that's what it says, the Gvir Brisla Rabim, he made a covenant with the massive Shavua Echad for 1 week, and I'm not sure how the Pasuk Daniel exactly teaches us that the Korban Eder goes into it, but let's just take it on faith. Anyway, but the Gemara asks a practical question. During the time of the first base of Churban, there were Samaritans who lived in the land of Israel. That's when they came. So if all of the land of Israel was destroyed, Kutim Shabbat Mayuosim, what were the Samaritans doing? So as Matlios says in his service, it was burnt in sections. It wasn't burnt all at once. And so they lived in one section, and then they were nomadic. They went to another section, and so on and so forth. Ksiv says, V'atah Pashkur Yu Pashkur, which is in Bavel. V'choyesh V'yisrael, and all those who live in your house, Telchu B'Shevi, or actually it was in Eretz Yisrael, sorry. You go to captivity. Ubavel Tovo, you're going to come to Bavel. Sham Tamos, there you're going to die. The Shamati Karvan, there you're going to be buried. That was a curse to Pashkur, who were inhabitants of the land of Israel. Rabbi Abba Amar, Rabbi Chelbo, Rabbi Chamar China said, Chad Amar, Meisham Benik Parsham. Person dies in the Chutzarts and is buried in the Chutzarts. Yesh B'Yod Shtaim has got 2 curses. That's what Yirmiyahu was saying. You're going to die there, you're going to be buried there. Meisham Benik Parsham, if you die in Chutzarts and you're buried in there, so Yesh B'Yod Shtaim, you only have 1 curse. The Choron Amar is another opinion, which later on Yerushalmi is actually going to contradict. And the Bavli doesn't even bring it down. But an interesting opinion, Choron Amar, Kivur Mechaper Slamit Shlem. Even if you die in Chutzarts, if you bury in there, it's a soul that atones. That's an atonement.
So that's why they bring...
Yeah, that's why they bring. Right. We're going to speak about that. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow night we'll get there. Rabbi Yehuda B'Shem Chaim Chanina said, maybe tonight. Regal at the Bar Nosh, now it's a parenthetical remark, it's a Bavli also in Sukkah, but for some reason it's brought down here. Rabbi Yehuda B'Shem Rabbi Chaim Chanina said, Regal at the Bar Nosh, Inam of Vilna say, the legs of the person bring him, Kol Hein the Mitbei, wherever he is requested or required. The Chsiv it says, Vayom Hashem Yifates Achav. Hashem said, who's going to seduce Achav? V'yah will go up, V'yipov Rose, Moshe Gilad, and fall in Ramos HaGilad. He died in Golan. V'yom Yisrael Beis, so why can't he die at home? So it's more low, Tamon. No. He has to go where he's supposed to die. Where is he supposed to die? In Gilad. So therefore Hashem has to get him to go there. Ali Choref Achaya, train Iskrituri. Now this word Iskrituri is actually the Latin word secretary. It really is. That's how the Aruch translated it. There are 2 secretaries, Iskrituri, secretary, to Shlomo, of Shlomo HaMelech. Chama Malchamos, and the story in the Sukkot in the Bible is slightly different, but the idea is the same. Chama Malchamos and Mistakabon, he saw the Malchamos looking at these two secretaries, the Chork B'Shirav, and gritting his teeth. And he knew the Malchamos was out to get them. Amar Milo, he said a word, Shlomo, and he had them fly in the air. Azos the Malchamos went, but Nasputa Mitamon, and took him from there, and killed him. Asa Gochich. So he came smiling, and stood opposite Shlomo. Amar Leit, so Shlomo said, I understand. Ahu Shaita, before, you were grinding your teeth. Now you're happy? Amar Leit, so he said, I'll tell you. Amar Lei Rachmona, Hashem told me, Diyansav Elichuruf V'achaya, Migo. Hashem said, it's time to take Elichuruf and Achaya, but you can only take away their souls if they're in the air. And I said, Varmin, Man Yoav Li'elin, who's going to give me them? Right? Lahon, who's going to give me them to the air? The Shalchus Mitzivin, so I can send and take them from there. For Yoav Li'libe, and Hashem put in your heart, or maybe it's the Malchamos put in his heart. No, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Karmei said, "V'yah believech lemabad kain." Tapasam zayin rav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put this in your heart to do this. Begin in Navich Shlichus in order that I could do that which I was sent to do. Azel v'it buvam mitzavan, and then I was able to go and deal with them from there. So that's what we said before. Wherever a person needs to be, HaKadosh Baruch Hu arranges that he'll be there. And if Elichoruf and Achia had to be killed in midair, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu arranges that they'll be sent to midair. And that's the way destiny works. Okay? It's kind of fatalistic view of life. Where when it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Train Menoider had a similar story. What? Wherever the Malach HaMavis has to find you, he'll find you. Right. Similar story. Train Benoider the Rabbi Ruim Bar Strabuya. Talmud the Rabbi, they were students of Rabbi. So Rabbi saw Chama Malchamos and Mistakabon, so the Malchamos looking at them, and grinding his teeth. And he said, "Niglum the Roma, I'll send him down south. Shema shall goes mechaperes. Maybe goes will be mechaper, that they'll go to be saved." No, Azam Nasin Taman the Malchamos went and took them from there. Ula nechoisa, Ula the Yored. See, they called him Yordim back then too. Hava Idmich, he was dying Tamar and Chutzlards. Shari Bachi began to cry. Amalei said, Malach Bachi, why are you crying? Imaskulach, if we're going to take you up to Eretz Yisrael, don't worry, we're taking you. Amalei said, Umanoi Isli, what benefits to me? Vanamovi Margalosi, I'm losing my pearl, my precious stone, my neshama, go Aram Avta, in a defiled land. Lodami Apoto Lechek Imo, there's no comparison between somebody who surrenders his soul in the bosom of his mother in Eretz Yisrael, and somebody who surrenders his soul in the bosom of a foreigner. It's an interesting concept. I don't know exactly how that works, but it makes a difference where you die. It's what I'm saying. It wasn't likely to get to Eretz Yisrael, though. Okay. So, I don't want to say anything on tape. Says more further. Rameir Idmich Basi, or Rameir died in Turkey. So he said, Amar L'bnei Eretz Yisrael, tell the people of Eretz Yisrael, the Dor Mashiachon Ditchon. It was Lubavitcher. He said, the Mashiach is dying. Right? Your Mashiach, your anointed one, is dying. So he actually told them to send the emissaries there, because they didn't know Rabbi Meir. He was incognito there. He had to flee Chutzlaretz. So they sent emissaries to Eretz Yisrael to that they should come and take me. Avafilu Kain, Amar, nevertheless he said, until they come get me, Yovon Arsi Kefi, I'm going to put my coffin on the seashore. Why? Because the Chsiv, it says, Eretz Yisrael is bounded by seas, is founded on seas, and supported by rivers. Shiva Yam is some Eretz Yisrael. There's 7 seas around Eretz Yisrael. Yam Rabbah, the Mediterranean, Yam Tveria, the Kinneret, Yam the rest of the ones, and not all of them I know. Yam the Kuvchu, Yam the Milch of the Dead Sea, Yam the Chilsa, the Chule, Yam the Shulchas, I know what that is, and Yam the Pam, I don't know what that is either. What about Vayam the Chometz, another lake? That's not a lake, it's a reservoir. To Clitinus, whoever that Roman Caesar was, Hikva Naros Foso. He put the, what? Diocletian, right? He gathered rivers and made that place. So the bottom line is that we only, we all did you daven already? You daven? I davened already. Do you daven already? Do you have a minute without us? Do you have a minute without us? Count. See if you have a minute without us, so we can wait. Two people, did you daven, Mr. Zuger? Yeah. So you only have one here who didn't daven. Anyway, so the bottom line is, so you want it to be put on the seashore, so this coffin should at least be in proximity to Eretz Yisrael until such time as they come to pick him up. Okay, we'll stop here for this evening. I'll pick up with the rest of the Agada to tomorrow.
Gemara mentions Yerushalmi, but doesn't mention Achav or Korah.
No, but I assume that they were also included in their cheshbon. That's my assumption. Okay, not bad.